Morning.
Good to see everybody.
Jeff, for you, I'm wondering now that you have two first-round draft picks,
Yes.
what's the process going to be for you determining it? Because we don't know who's going to be staying in college and who's going to be coming out.
Yeah, it's a good question. We discuss these things every day as a staff. Obviously, it's a little tricky right now, with not knowing who's going to declare, who's going to end up, staying in school. Obviously, we know there's at least one player that's going to go back to school. A couple of the earlier draft picks on mocks or in our perception may end up staying in school. We don't know yet. So, we're just considering all options because there's a lot of really strong players that we like, players that we have regular discussions about. So, we're waiting like everybody else, but still keeping that in mind. We have different designs in place, depending on who decides to stay at school, who decides to declare. So just as a staff, these are daily discussions. So it's a good question. We talk about it every day.
Teresa, what's it been like for you with the roster you have right now? How much contact do you have with players? And are you going overseas at all to see any of them?
I'm in constant contact with the players. It's important to have contact with them to give them an idea of what is expected. So they can be working on those things while they're playing overseas as well. So having constant conversation and communication with them is very important. And also to let them know exactly where we stand right now as well with what we're having to do to continue to build our roster.
What question for both of you? What type of player, or is there a specific type of player you want to get in that third pick?
I'll take that one. We feel very good, about our core who is here. Obviously we address our needs, internally on a daily basis, but we're just keeping our eyes peeled. We're watching a lot of games every day. We're building a travel schedule to take a look at all the players that we like. But like I said, we're considering everyone. There's a lot of good players, and it's gonna, we'll be able to indicate, what's gonna be the best identification for us once we have a better idea of who's gonna stay and who's gonna go. But there's a lot of good players. We're excited.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, thank you.
Go Annie, then Stephen.
What's up, guys? It's good to see both of you. How are you doing?
Good to see you.
Hi, Annie.
Teresa, this one's for you. So obviously when you accepted the job in October, things were a bit different. So my question for you is just, when you accepted the job, was your expectation that you'd be coaching a team through a rebuild? And how does your approach, change, if at all, with this new change in direction?
Well, good to see you. Glad to have you on. There's no change in my thought process. Just to give you an idea of how I think and what I believe is my philosophies are not predicated upon whether you get the big free agents or you don't. It doesn't. It's predicated upon who's on that roster. So to say rebuild, my language is a little bit different. I'm not speaking rebuilds. We're speaking putting together the proper roster to go and compete and become what we say we're going to become. That's exactly what we're going to do. Nothing's going to change. Our desire to be great is going to be the same. Our desire to go out and compete and to be one of the top teams out there is going to be the same. Our desire to be a great team and represent Chicago in the right way doesn't change.
So just for both of you then, or whoever wants to take this one, if rebuild isn't necessarily the word you want to use, what is the word you would use to describe a team that, trades away their franchise player to get draft stock back, to get young players back, and is actively trying to, again, regain that draft stock? What is the word you would use?
I'm definitely not using rebuild.
Okay.
That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing here. We're not rebuilding. The foundation is here. The seed has been planted. All we're doing is fertilizing it. And we're fertilizing it with the right people, putting together the right roster to go and compete and be the best team that we possibly can be every single night. We know that is an important thing for us. That's why we're taking our time, having constant conversations about what we need and what we know is going to be the best fit for our roster that we have in place right now. So we know that rebuilding is not the word. We're fertilizing the seed that has already been planted.
Appreciate that. Just one more question about your coaching staff. Obviously, we saw the addition yesterday. Can you speak to that addition and what made that one right? And also, who we can expect to see next to you on the bench this year?
Those announcements will be made, and I want it to be everybody get an opportunity to see and hear when it is announced. But when we talk about Crystal Robinson, I think everybody on here knows that I had an opportunity to play with her, very, very close with her. But Crystal has done an incredible job of being a coach in this league. She knows this league very well. She knows players. She knows this league extremely well. But Crystal is extremely sharp. She's sharp offensively. She's sharp defensively. And she has an incredible amount of energy that's necessary and patience that's necessary to be a great teacher. And that's what we want here. And that's what we brought here in Crystal Robinson.
Okay, sorry, one quick follow-up. Without naming the names or who you necessarily want to bring in, what are you pursuing in your coaching staff? Defensive minds, like how would you characterize the type of coaches you're going after?
This is a great question because it's important for each coach to have the ability to know a little bit about a lot. In order to do things offensively, you have to know a lot about defense to be able to counter it. Same as defense. On the defensive side of the ball, you got to know a little bit about offense to be able to counter what they do on the offensive side. So it's important to have a piece of every single thing. Have a little bit of analytics as well. Your interpersonal skills are very, very important of how you receive players and what their personalities might be. So that's an important piece as well of what we're trying to accomplish as a staff, and the energy every single day. It's not about what you know all the time. It's about what you bring, the sweat equity. So it's about bringing those people in that's going to have that every single day that we step on the floor with our young ladies to compete.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll go Carly Bell, then Stephen, then Carly Bell.
Hey, y'all, how y'all doing today?
Great. You?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. My first two questions are going to be for Coach Teaspoon. The first one, obviously, you have a breadth of experience in terms of your walks of basketball, from coaching to obviously being in the NBA with skill development. I was curious, how can you compile all of those experiences and apply them in the now to optimize the current situation that you're in?
Well, that's the great part about it all is I've had an opportunity to do a lot, and it started a long time ago. It started just by being a point guard and understanding why coaches do what they do, the strategies and why that strategy works. So it started a very long time ago of why I wanted to coach, why I wanted to take all the experiences and to give it back. And now I've had an opportunity to be on the NBA side and to kind of be in that transfusion. I guess you'd want to say I've been a part of that transfusion, so I know how they bleed. So now I want to be able to bring that back on this side as well. So I've had an opportunity to do a lot of things and to understand the game in so many ways. I've played for so many different coaches and different philosophies and how they work and how they might not work. But I do understand our personnel, and that's the most important thing, is to understand your personnel and those things that you have had an opportunity to experience. How do you bring that back and make them the best versions of themselves every single day? So that's the part that I'm trying to bring in to make sure that they're the best version of themselves every day with everything I've ever experienced.
And then one more quick follow-up to that one. Are there any specific coaches from your past that you may have had contact with that have an influence in how you are in terms of how your process is as a coach today?
To believe it or not, I've been in contact with my high school coach all my life, ever since she's coached me. So she knows me very well. She knows my thought process. She knows how I think, how I move. So it's important to stay in contact with her. And of course, my college coach is very, very close with me. So I stay in constant contact with them. And some of the other coaches that mean so much to me, that I trust, that I can talk to, I do that because they've meant so much to my life and my growth.
And my last one for you, Coach. You mentioned in your introductory presser, being geared up is the operative phrase for you, and the fire and the attention to detail that comes with it. From my experiences in basketball, it seems like the best teams, they get the most out of what they have in-house, kind of align with the coach's personality to an extent. I was wondering, do you feel like you all have fielded a roster that can facilitate to that, or do you feel like it might deviate from that in a positive manner?
I think we feel that very well. I do. The personalities of our young women are that grit, that grind, that determination, chip on the shoulder, wanting to show more than anything, not to prove anyone that they belong. They know they belong. And that is my personality. That's how I've approached everything. It's the way I was brought up. And these young ladies approach it the very same way because they want to represent this organization in the right way.
Thank you. And then I have two more
you.
for Coach, or two more for Jeff, excuse me. Jeff, you mentioned that you had a plan A and a plan B in terms of you all's approach to free agency, and you mentioned you pivoted quickly to plan B. I was wondering how you would assess how you all have gone about effectively pivoting to that plan B.
Yeah, when we didn't land the free agents, that we were looking for, we had a second plan, under design that we moved towards right away, and we feel great about it. We were able to get quite a return for Pagliocca. Obviously, it was a difficult decision. We've spoken about it regularly, but the return we've gotten allowed us to secure two very good young players with skill sets that have already been successful in this league, whether it's an all defensive team or rookie of the year. And we also got quite a return in the draft category too. So we were able to, rebuild the draft capital there. We got a couple first round picks, a couple second round picks. So we feel pretty good about the decisions that we made, and, able to just rebuild the youth and the draft capital along the way.
And then I think I've been reading a lot about the free agents answering questions and their introductory press conferences and things of that nature. I think something that's been consistently brought up is facilities and how that played a factor in free agents ultimately determining where they wanted to go. I was wondering, have you two had any conversations with the front office as far as that process goes, and are there any updates in regards to the Sky having their own?
Yeah, obviously this is a pretty regular question. The practice facility is it's an important thing to ownership. It's an important thing to us, Coach Weatherspoon and I. We're actively looking, and taking a look at different areas geographically, what fits could be. It's a process. It takes time, but there's nothing definitive, time-wise, but we feel good, that we're attacking the right stuff in that regard.
And then my last one, Jeff, what's been Dwayne Wade's involvement with you all's entire process, from maybe picking coaches to free agent courting and things of that nature?
Yeah, Dwayne Wade's been weighing in. He's been a resource for everybody, and we're happy to have his support.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carly, then Jackie.
Hey, Jeff and Spoon. Hope you guys are doing well today.
Hey,
Good,
Carly.
awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just feel your energy always, Spoon. It just
Good,
radiates
good.
through a computer.
Like that.
I got a couple of questions for you first, Coach. When you look at this roster, we've seen there were more addition, like there was already a guard foundation set here with Dana and Marina, but we've seen a lot of growth with the post players with the addition of Brianna and Michaela, as well as the return of Elizabeth. What do you just see out of the depth inside the post game that can provide some help for the Sky this year, since that was lacking a lot last year with size and injuries? What do you see in the post game that can be beneficial for you guys this season?
Well, that was important. That was important for us to go after our need. And that need was to help inside with what Elizabeth already bringing, what Izzy will bring now that she's healthy. So it's important for us to go and add those family parts to what we're doing, because it was important. It's important. That was a need. So when there's a need, you go and you find that. But in that need fits what we're trying to do as an organization, and what we're going to do offensively, and how we're going to run things. So it matters. And also it matters too of who you bring in, character women, the attitudes that they have, the approach that they have. So it's important that we look at all parts, not just the skill level, but it's what you're bringing to build the culture that you want to build to have that sustained success that we speak about.
And then kind of follow up with you, Jeff. Diamond is returning. And when we spoke to her yesterday, she alluded to the fact that you were very much there for her, during 2021, and to get a phone call, it was kind of an easy decision for her to come back. What were those conversations like with Diamond? And does that for you as a general manager, and then Spoon, also you there as well, seeing a player who was with Chicago and win that championship in Chicago and know what that's like in this city, what does that bring you guys in regards of veteran experience for this season?
Yeah, obviously Diamond DeShields is was and is a fan favorite of Chicago for a lot of reasons. She was there when we won. She had an incredible impact on the league immediately when she came out of school. Obviously more importantly, almost it's a inspirational story of resiliency. She's been through so much, the surgeries. I mean, what she can do physically kind of pales in comparison to what she overcame. So I think that having her back here as a veteran now, as a leader, and Chicago being the destination from her perspective is very exciting for us. And obviously what she is capable of doing is second to none. You know, physically, she's exciting. She's got an incredible personality. And again, like which Coach Spoon has been alluding to, you know, that leadership from players like her is another reason, you know, why we're so excited to have her, because that's something that we're going to fall back on a lot. You know, we need those types on the floor in practice, in the locker room, and she's one of them. So to me, yeah, we spent a lot of time together right when I took the job initially, and to have her back here is it's very exciting. We're thrilled.
I want to add to that, but it does say a lot about Chicago. It says a lot about this organization. Someone who's been here, she's won here, and now she's excited to be back. That says a lot about an organization, because she's going to bring a great deal of leadership that she's experienced, the things she's had to experience by not having the opportunity to play, the game just being pulled from underneath her. So there's things that she doesn't take for granted. She wants to come here and win again. And that's the attitude that we want for every player, to come here, know what Chicago is all about, because she is in the know. She knows what it's about. So she wants to come back. So make sure you write that says a lot about Chicago, the return of Diamond DeShields.
And then to kind of follow up on that with you, Coach, you know, when we spoke, you know, this past offseason, you know, in December, you said the biggest focus was, you know, we want to talk about we really want to focus on the character of who these players are. And now that you're starting to see the roster come together, how would you describe the character of this team?
Amazing. I cannot wait to get started with each one of them. I have individual conversations with them often, and to hear their thought process and what they think, what they believe, where they know that we can go. You've already won a lot of the battle right there. All you want to do is coach them and put them in the right positions to succeed every single night. And that's my job. That's my duty. And I'm looking forward to being a part of their growth, their development, and how they will represent this organization.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jackie, then Ben.
Hi all, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. My first question is for Jeff. I'm just curious what you've learned about what it takes to be a really successful GM in this league during the past few months since you were hired, and what has also surprised you, my mistake, about this role and what it takes.
Yeah, that's a good one. I can tell you that the daily learning curve, the challenges, the experience, it came flooding in, you know, and it still does. But I got to tell you, I'm surrounded by brilliant people like this one, our ownership, and we do it collaboratively, and we are continually educating ourselves on important things, whether it's personnel, you know, or it's the way we want to play basketball, or it's continuing to identify our identity. But just overall, like you know, the rules, right? The teams, you know, the construction of rosters, the strategy that comes to place. But you know, it's a dream job. I've said it in every interview. Working with Coach Spoon has been a real gift in my life, and the ownership in general. But you know, we do it together. We speak every day. There's a lot I feel confident and comfortable with, and when I don't, you know, I reach out to the Coach Weatherspoons, the Adam Foxes, the Michael Alters. These people are really important to me. They have been since day one, and I've said it before, like being surrounded by like-minded people that are as passionate as I am about basketball is why accepting this role has been so amazing from my end. So I'm not in it alone, never wanted to be in it alone. I know I've got a skill set that lends to this position in a lot of ways. But the stuff that I'm learning or doesn't come easy, that's what this one's for, you know, and we handle everything together. And it's been everything I could hope for and more. So
But just to add to Jeff, because you're asking about something that's it's a growth thing, and you learn from your bumps and your bruises, your wins and your losses, and how do you bounce back from it? And we bounce back well. We're going to bounce off of each other. We're in this thing together. We talk everything through together. And that's the most important piece. And how do you grow? You grow from those bumps and bruises. You grow from the yeses and the nos. You grow from all of those things, and then you build and you start to learn. You start to learn some things maybe that you didn't see, maybe things you didn't say. You start to learn, and you're writing those things down. We always talk about our paper trails. We write those things down and we learn from it, and then we move forward. We don't sit in it. We don't sit in it. We move forward because we have a job to do, and we're going to stand strong in the job that we have to do. And I'm glad as hell to be able to be working with him.
I appreciate that from both of you. And I guess this one could be for both of you as well. You talked about people on this roster that you are looking for to step up. You mentioned Diamond as one. I'm just curious who some of those others are, and I guess who you consider your core to be.
Coach.
Well, I'm one to wait for camp. I know what these young ladies are going to bring. I
Mhm.
know. The one thing I won't do is I won't promise anything.
Sure.
The work that they put in will make their own promise. I'm not going to promise anything, but every one of them that we have on this roster, every player on this roster, they're simply freaking amazing. They have a skill set that's unreal, that's going to be unmatched. It's something that I can't wait for everybody to have an opportunity to see, because this is a group. This is a group that has been counted out. This is a group that has been counted out. And this is no better place to be than to be counted out. And they have the right attitude, the right approach, and we're looking forward to getting started.
Right. And I guess, Jeff, for you, I mean, Teaspoon has mentioned representing Chicago in the right way. I guess I want to know from you, what exactly does that mean?
No, it's a good one. And this is a daily discussion too. Our identity and the way we're representing the organization and the city has been the same since day one. It didn't matter who we landed in free agency. We were going after the same types of character competitors. So we want the toughness, we want the grit, we want the selflessness. We want players that want to fight for the person next to them. And like Coach said, you know, we've made it very clear to these players, there's a clean slate. This is a very new year, and they're going to get an opportunity to earn whatever they want to earn. So we are expecting one of the most competitive training camps in this league because of these factors that have come across in the last couple months. And it makes it that much more exciting for us because I don't know about everybody else, but you know, you're talking to two very competitive people, you know, and we're making sure that our team understands that, they feel it, and that's exactly who we're going after. You know, you can't fake what we've got, you know, and the players feel it. They know it from watching this one. They know it from spending time around me in the organization and conversations we've been having. But you know, there's no promises. There's no nothing. Everybody comes in and fights, and then we're going to keep that identity. Practice day one, game day one, it'll never change. Win or lose, we're coming to fight. Okay, full energy, full passion. You know, the life that Coach breathes into this thing. We got players that are falling right in line.
Thank you both so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jackie. Before we go to Ben, can we save all questions for Jeff, please? Spoon has to head out here soon, but I want to make sure we get to everyone. So Jeff will stay. If you can save your questions for him, questions for Coach only. We'll go to Ben and then Mike and then Chris.
Sounds good. And yeah, I have one or two for Jeff, but I'll just go to Spoon then first. Spoon, just, you know, obviously don't expect you to talk about who you're looking for in the draft, but just from a marketability standpoint as it relates to Caitlin Clark, just how do you see her potentially impacting the WNBA? And I guess big picture, how would you like to see the WNBA impact the next generation of stars?
Caitlin's going to be Caitlin. I mean, I don't know what, make sure I say the right thing. Caitlin is going to be Caitlin Clark. She is an incredible talent. Going to do amazing in the W. Are going to do great things in the W. And it does an incredible thing for us for the WNBA, period. Because of the fan base that follows along with her, the butts that'll be in the seats to go and watch her. Because if you're watching collegiately, everywhere she goes, it's a sellout. They want to watch her play. They want to see her play because she's bringing something very special to be able to watch. She's a special young lady who's going to do special things in the W. Now, to speak about where does it take the W and what the W looks like in the long run, this is what's needed. It's needed for more eyes to be upon us. The marketing that she's going to bring is going to be simply amazing. She's put in the work for this to happen. She's put in the work to be where she is and who she is, and she's going to do great in the W.
And then,
That's plain.
yeah,
I think that's obvious that she's going to do great.
broadly, like how would you like to see the league and market, other stars like her or other young players kind of coming into the league?
Well, it's not about marketing just stars. There are stories in every player that's in this league, and those stories need to be told. People need to hear how some things that they may have gone through to get to where they are, things that they go through now to continue to be where they are. Every player's story needs to be told from top to bottom, not just stars or whoever everyone thinks are stars or superstars. Every story must be told because every story resonates with other people.
Yeah. And then just following up on that, I mean, real quick, like there's a lot of conversation certainly about the history of women's basketball right now, whether that's in the college game or the pro game. I guess, what was it like for you to kind of be in free agency meetings with, young players or players around the league? And, did you see players asking you about your time as a player with the Liberty, or did you draw on that experience in those conversations? Yeah.
My experience will normally always come up because they want to know. They want to know what it was like from the beginning. And I think it's a great thing because it lets me know they understand they like history. They understand that there was a start before them and they appreciate it. So, of course, it's really good to be able to talk about how it began and where it is now. The conversation does come up a lot. And it's good to talk about. It's good to talk about and to hear what they think that they can do to better it for the next generation to come.
We'll go to Mike and then lastly, Chris. Questions for Coach only, please.
Hey guys, it's great seeing you again. Spoon, my only question for you right now is I love hearing you talk about the culture and the mentality of veteran players like Diamond and obviously Kalia during the introduction. But how hard is it evaluating a player's mentality prior to the draft? And what are you looking for from a rookie right now to really fit into this role?
It's not hard to evaluate the mentality. It's not hard at all. It's not even about the questions that you ask. It's about what they speak about and what this game means to them and what drives them, what keeps them going, what motivates them. So you can hear the mentality. You can hear that what they want. You can hear where they want to even send the league. And it's not just about themselves. It's about everyone else that's around them. So it's not hard to hear the mentality. It's just about having the conversation, an open, honest conversation. And you can hear exactly who they are and what they want and what they desire.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming.
Lastly, we'll go to Chris. Questions for Coach only.
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you. I'm Chris with Fox 32.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Coach, really quick, I just wanted to ask about Diamond. We talked to her yesterday. She talked about how different she is as a person in her tenure in Chicago then as opposed to now. And when you have a player that's gone through so much and has been humbled in the way that she has, how do you see that kind of translating into a second tenure in Chicago? And what's that like coaching a player like that?
Just having conversation with Diamond has been amazing because she's shared a lot that she's gone through. I got a chance to hear it from her and how it has made her stronger, better, see things differently, the acceptance of tough coaching, never taking anything for granted, wanting to be a leader and wanting to lead people in the right way, willing to do whatever coach asked to do for the good of the team. So what she's gone through has helped her to see things a little bit differently with a different lens. So it's really good to know that we have her here with that mentality that she can also spread with each player on this team about things being taken away from you and now having it again.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone. Coach
Thank you all for
No,
coming. I
thank
appreciate you
you.
all. Looking forward to more.
Jeff will be here as well.
Little love real quick.
Always, buddy. Take it easy, y'all now, okay?
Thank you. Thanks so much. Ben, we'll circle back around to you and then we'll follow through with follow-ups.
Sounds good. I just have one transactional and then one bigger picture question. One, Jeff, there was a report out there that COD did request a trade. I guess I was wondering if you could comment and say confirm or say if she did actually request it, and if there was anything else about the lead up into that process you could share.
Yeah, we're
that.
not going to comment too much on that, but we will say that Kalia was aware of the plans that we had in place. So these were ongoing discussions with her. She was a part of the discussion at all times, not the decisions, but if we had an opportunity, to get her someplace, if things didn't necessarily go our way in free agency, it made sense for both parties.
Gotcha.
So if we could execute what we did, and allow to get her to a place, which was going to obviously keep her in a competitive situation and then get the return that we were hoping for. It was obviously very difficult, but she was aware of everything that was going on from the jump. So same story, accurate intel,
Gotcha. And then one big picture one, just
Sure.
what was it like for you, again, kind of what I asked Spoon, like being in free agency meetings with her, and did you kind of see players, asking her these kind of questions, or, being curious about kind of her playing days in a way that is kind of beneficial to those meetings?
Yeah, I think having a coach that was such a great player, it just always has an allure attached to it because she's been through the things, that she's demanding, and obviously her identity as a player, and as a coach are pretty similar. So I think it helps a lot. I think when players feel that type of connection, then they know that the words being spoken to them, are honest and someone that's walked in the shoes already. So it can only help,
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Sure.
We'll go to Chris and then Mike.
Hey, Jeff, real quick, was curious if you could go talk a little bit about Plan B. I know you mentioned pivoting from the Plan A to Plan B. I was wondering what kind of conversations you have, what other options you had, if any, around the league when it comes to moving on, and what those conversations look like, and how quickly you were able to move on to Plan B.
Yeah, Plan B was in place when Plan A was, so when it was time, when we felt that we weren't going to land, those older vets, which could allow us to compete immediately, we pivoted to the next plan, and the options we felt best about, we had already been educating ourselves on rosters and what possible returns could be. So, when we ended up, doing that deal with Phoenix, we already had players that we were targeting that filled needs that we wanted as far as getting younger defensively, another strong wing. And, we were obviously gunning for some picks, and that haul we got in return, Phoenix ended up the best destination for both parties, in all honesty. We didn't always plan on accommodating Kalia, but it was something that was important to me if we could do it, and we were able to do it and executed it, and everybody was happy. So.
And one last about Diamond. I mean, knowing a player that's been here for so long, someone you've probably worked with a lot too, how different is she now than she was before in her last tenure in Chicago?
I mean, she's a few years older, than when I met her. I think she was probably 25, 26 when we first started working out together. And like Coach alluded to, when you lose something you love, and then you're in the process of getting older, growing, maturing, obviously, that experience is going to shape you, on top of just coming back from an injury. But in a lot of ways, same old Diamond, always had a chip, even when she was on top, she was coming after everybody. But I mean, this is a girl with a huge heart, that cares a lot about people. And on the basketball side, I mean, she was coming with a chip no matter what. She loved it here. We had conversations that made me feel that this was absolutely the fit we were looking for. So to get her back and what she means to the fans, I mean, that was not the priority, but it was something that, outside of the basketball, that was like, wow, I didn't realize this reaction was going to be what it was. I mean, I just love her as a player and as a leader. And when you've been through things like she's been through, she can help younger players understand when to make sure we're living every day, like we need to, and attacking every day. And those cliches aren't quite as cliche when someone's talking from experience. So we need that type of leadership now, and especially somebody that's been through really difficult stuff. And if you guys haven't watched, her story, like I said, it's super inspirational. And I think an effect that it can have on younger players is very meaningful. So we appreciate everything about Diamond DeShields coming back here.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Go to Mike and circle back with Annie.
Hey, Jeff, appreciate the time. Kind
Yes,
of
sir.
to circle back on that and talk about everything that happened with Kalia. Obviously, you've been very vocal about, plan A was important to you, and keeping Kalia in Chicago was important, all the way from the extension to her being at the introduction meeting with Teaspoon. Kind of in hindsight, I was wondering if we could talk about what that game plan was for plan A, and what the 2024 season would have looked if you hit on those specific players that you were looking at in free agency. And what was really your timestamp? Did you give yourself like a certain window of it has to be these specific players, or were you kind of just seeing as the pieces were falling throughout free agency?
Yeah, look, we targeted players that we thought fit in our identity. Tough players. We were looking for some front court stuff. We were looking for a point guard that could be a lead guard, and we just wanted defensive players who played the right way and that were really competitive. And those were the ones we wanted that we thought fit for our ability to go and try to win a championship right away. I'd say there was no timetable, but for me personally, those players fit us. And when it looked like we weren't going to be able to land those types of players, and as players started making decisions on other organizations, we weren't in a rush. We got together, we spoke about it, and that just became, organically the move that was going to be made. So obviously the season could have looked and gone a lot differently. You never want to trade a franchise player unless it's going to make a lot of sense for both parties. We care a lot about her. So there was no bad blood. It's no secret, our relationship. And it's tough to lose her, but the return was strong, and we have to think about the organization and her at the same time. So like I said, both parties involved, I feel like we're winners.
And then I know you talked about it a little while ago about obviously Clark and Reese and a bunch of other players who haven't committed to the 2024 draft yet. So for you, how many mock boards do you expect to have by the end of the season, and really just trying to calculate who's going to be there and who's not?
We got a lot. I got a lot. I'm sending stuff to our coaches. I mean, a couple times a day, because we've got to be prepared for everything. I mean, a few weeks ago we had no picks in the first round. Now we have 2 good ones. So having as much education as possible on what things could look like, and obviously look at our roster. We're strong. The core is strong. The youth is there. The toughness is there, the grit is there. So we have to keep taking a look at our needs, which it's really tricky. You just don't know. And you also have to be prepared for people that might change their minds. You might hear one thing, but end up a couple days before declaring. So we have to be ready for those things too. So we've got a handful of boards up on our wall. And like I said, we're just really excited to expect no picks in this round, to now have 2. And then obviously we have 13 as well. First pick in the second. Like we've got a lot of options we got to create. So
Thanks, Jeff.
yes, sir.
We'll go to Annie and end with Carly.
What's up, Jeff?
Hello, Annie.
Rebecca, where do things stand with her? Obviously, that qualifying offer went out. What's the plan? Do you guys expect her to return in 2024, or is that, a player that could potentially be moved to go after more draft stock, another player, whatever the case may be?
Yeah, we're still in ongoing conversations with Rebecca. All those options are very real. It's a player we have a lot of respect for, a player that was very good here, that kind of fits into our philosophy and our identity. but we're still having conversations with her, and time will tell.
And then that 2025 first round pick that was packaged in the trade for Marina, the rights to swap. How
Yes.
much of a priority is it for you to regain that pick, especially considering, you know, we don't know how good this upcoming draft class is going to be?
Right. Obviously, having a really good 25 pick, you know, is a goal. The swap puts us in an interesting place, depending on how both teams finish. So we're going to keep an eye on if that becomes an option, another pick in that draft in that year. So
Thank you.
thank you.
And with Carly.
Yeah, just follow up, not only on Rebecca, but also any conversations with Robin at all with the extended offer?
Yeah, we've been talking to Robin too, another super good human being that's a specialist as a shooter, having a good season right now. Ongoing conversations. Want to do what's right for Robin and what's right for us. So nothing to report there yet, but another player we're a big fan of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.